Why, hello, you super sexy, sleuth and salacious sucker-luckers. My favorite people, my beautiful heathen. I'm back with another episode of the Gaming Memories Podcast, where I, your host, Cade Call, interview creative and interesting people about their favorite gaming memories growing up. Ha-ha! On this episode of the podcast, I have someone creative and, spoiler alert, interesting. Drum roll, please. Trey Warner. I first heard about the mythology and the lore behind Mr. Warner as a small young lad when I attended a warehouse rock and roll show that I am almost positive, I didn't ask him about this on the podcast, but I would put money down that this show was not sanctioned. The city was definitely not aware it was happening. There was no security, not enough water, bathrooms, exits. Everything was against code, and I'm pretty sure Mr. Warner's band, Rated Hero, just posted up in a warehouse and started rocking out, and it turned into absolute chaos. One of the craziest shows I've ever been to, and the first time I can remember being legitimately worried about being inside of a pit because, again, it was chaos, but at the end of the day, it was a lot of fun. I kept hearing about Trey further. I ran into him at a Halo party. His little brother was friends with me. I talked some mad shit in Halo, showed up at his house thinking I was dope, and I got wrecked. We talked about that on the podcast. Then I heard about him a little bit more in the door-to-door sales industry, in which he was very successful, and the legend is that he would roll around in a Astro van that was pimped out, slinging and danging, selling alarms and making cash money. And the legend grew even further as he rose through the ranks, and he was very smart with that cash money, invested it in real estate, and basically did what a lot of people did and found a way to freedom, financial freedom. And so he really caught my attention at that point because that was something that I wanted in my life. So I started paying attention to him even more from afar. And long story short, he got back into music, started doing music again, and does acting, and he's good at all of these things. And anyone who's good at multiple things and has been successful at multiple things will pique my interest. I started watching them like, I mean, in my mind, there's two ways to go through life. You can be sort of a jack of a bunch of trades that you like and not be a master of nothing, but put those trades together in an interesting way, which is the path that I've taken. Or you can go all in on something and become world class. And Trey has been the jack of all trades, but he's been surprisingly good at each trade. And people who can get good at things, at multiple things, get good at them fast and then succeed at them and be a high performer, that just interests me. So I've been stalking him for a long time, finally reached out to him. He agreed to come on the podcast, and bada bing, bada boom, man, we find ourselves here. He's a badass. Check him out, Trey Warner Official or Trey Warner on all the best social platforms. We're going to be talking, I should actually preface this. We talk about video games right off the bat, but then we get sidetracked and we never find our way back to video games. So I'm going to just be straight honest with you. We talk about video games for about 30 minutes, 20 minutes, and then we go off the rails, but I found the conversation to be very interesting. I left the room with a buzz of energy, so I'm assuming some of that energy will be translated to you, my faithful listeners. Why did I do a Cletus the Slack John Yokel? I don't know. Sometimes accents just come out. It's like, I could edit this, but I'm not. I will put all my warts on display for you to see. Check him out, Trey Warner. Here's a little sneak peek, a clip from my favorite song of his called Carry On that channels sort of a Weezer and Jimmy World vibe, which is 2 pluses in my book. Check it out.
Right now.
You're 27?
Yeah. I mean, my body, like, if you look at my body, you're like, dude, this guy's...
Are you 18?
What is he? Well, my body says that, but I think mentally I'm like 88, but like, as far as how I can move, 26, because that's your prime, right?
I've heard 35 is like your ultimate
What is
man
your
prime.
We're going to have to... We're going to have to vet that.
They always say in UFC commentary, like 35, 33 is like the heavyweight prime, blah, blah.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's true, but
we'll look into it.
We'll look it up. But I was playing a lot of Halo. I knew Danny as like your whole family. For those who don't know, and there'll be a big intro. Like you guys are all tall, beautiful men, Swedish looking Hitler wet dream type men. So and you played music. and I knew you were all athletic, so I didn't really associate Danny with like playing video games. Yeah. And I was deep into video games, and I was good at I was decent at Halo. I'd go to like different house parties of people I didn't know, make bets, take their money. I had a crew of dudes that were into Halo, and then Danny started talking about Halo, and I'm like, this pretty boy, I'm gonna just wreck him. And I went over, I don't know, it was your place. Yeah. It's like you and your brothers, and I just got worked. I don't think I won a single game. And I'll be honest, like at the time, I'm like, how are these dudes are already athletic, tall, and beautiful, better at music, and they gotta take video games from me too? Like they're better at Halo. Why can't I have anything in this world? And I was just shocked, humbled. How? And it's also when I realized Halo is one of the first video games I saw it expand the interest of video games. Like people who normally weren't interested in video games got interested in Halo because it was like the funnest multiplayer experience.
This is Halo 1,
Halo 1. That's the only one I really played.
Dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys worked me. Like I think you're Scott's the oldest one there.
Yep.
Maybe, or I don't know how many brothers you have.
Cameron could have been there.
Could have been Cameron.
Cam was very good. Danny was very good. I was good at one thing, and I loved it. And that was I would capture the flag.
Blood Gulch?
Yeah, I don't remember what it was called exactly. I think that's what it was. It's like you want to get the flag and you bring it back to your fortress. Yeah, right?
What map? Do you remember? Like usually people play it on Blood Gulch.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's like kind of like desert, mountainy. Yes. You go up to the sides.
Yes.
Dude, I was the tank, dude. I would post up behind the fortress and just wreck people. And it was a gift. Like I was put on this earth. One of the things I was put on this earth was to just get in the tank, dude. And that's it. I was great at that. And it was so fun. And that's when like my metabolism was great. I could eat.
Yep.
I would eat. No kidding. It was just like the plan was get the Otis Spunkmeyer cookies from Costco.
Oh, yes.
And I could eat 8 to 12 and wash it down with Mountain Dew loaded with high fructose corn syrup and be ripped. And then
get diabetes.
And not get diabetes. And then the metabolism slowed down. I remember I looked at a picture. I'm like, okay, it's time to change.
Yeah, I've noticed there's these supplements now, gaming supplements. Like,
are you serious?
That's like basically they drink pre-workout and play video games. And I'm just had this thought, like, for how I know how hard I abused my body at that age, if you give me a gaming supplement like that, I can buy off Amazon. Like they're gonna say, well,
what is it? Caffeine and like beta alanine?
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, it's basically. I look at it's beta alanine, caffeine, whatever the other.
It's a pre-workout.
L-theanine to like keep it. Yeah. BCAAs. It's a pre-workout.
Oh my god!
But they just basically take pre-workout and they brand it as gaming energy. There's probably some small differences in the formula, but and I just think like if I was 16 and had that, I would definitely find out where do you have a heart attack. I'm gonna take 1 scoop less than that, and that's probably where I just saw that. I'm like, the kids. I had a guy on Keb who's into the Call of Duty scene, like, and he has homies that are trying to make it as pro COD players, and apparently that whole scene is just Adderall, energy drinks, and COD all day, every day. And these kids,
it's like both. Yes,
the
first time I saw, doing door to door like we did. First time I saw it, there was this no names, but I'm going to my Astrovan, which I called the Duke. His name was Duke, dude. And the thing is, like, I have an emotional connection to Duke. Do you remember when the monsters that looked like literally they were the size of like a tree trunk, like it was like a log? Yes. I don't know how many ounces it was. They don't do them anymore.
The big cans.
Yeah, they're huge cans.
Yeah.
And I remember I'm walking and a dude is breaking open I didn't know what it was.
And
he's pouring it. It's all those little tiny beads.
Yes, the time release beads.
That's exactly right. And he poured it into his buddies. And I'm like, what the? And then look at the other guy. Do you have yours left? And I'm like, yeah, dude, you owe me. And I'm going, what is happening? And I'm going, these guys are taking Adderall and drinking that whole log. But this was what was so wild. We'd start driving, and 10 minutes later, they're asleep.
Weird. They're so deep into that. Yeah.
I don't even know. I'm going, and
How's that
I didn't
possible?
quite understand what it was. I'm going, did they just take like a sleeping aid? Because, sometimes we drive like an hour to 2 hours out
to get
the
to
area.
the area. Yeah.
And these guys are guys that came from a different office than mine. And so this is kind of later in the summer. And I'm just, as I learned what this stuff was, I'm going, what is happening with their heart? And then at night they're taking an Ambien, to go to sleep, or if it's hippie lettuce or whatever it is, I'm going, dude, this can't be good for your body.
It can't.
No,
it
can't.
I have some friends and family that mixed, well, basically one group of friends that I met through alarms. Again, no names.
We'll protect the people. We're all trying our best.
They just mixed really heavy steroids with like uppers, amphetamines.
Oh man.
And that is a bad news bears for your heart. Super bad news bears.
I hope they find self-love. They're enough. We're enough. You're enough.
This particular case sorted it out, but yes, and it makes me like, okay, well, there is a big buffer. Like the heart can take, it's dangerous, but I'm also blown away at how heavy people have gone into like mixing certain things and they come out alive. And
for real,
but the body is okay. I don't know how you're not dead, but you're not. You're not.
Yeah. There's mercy, I guess. Like, hey, I'll give you a couple mulligans, but stop doing this.
So you're 2 years old. Was your first console? Did your family have video games growing up?
Yeah, I was, truth be told, I've never been into video games, but for some reason I liked watching my older brother Scott beat like Mike Tyson's Punch Out or Zelda. It was kind of more fun for me to vicariously live through Scott. But I think I do brain types. Like you're in Myers-Briggs, you're ENTP.
Ooh, close.
No, you are what
I'm
I'm saying.
INTP according to the test.
Yeah, you guys get misdiagnosed the most out of it. You guys just sometimes can. Yeah,
I've become more outgoing as I've gotten older.
So the thing that's interesting, we're kind of going on, and this, I don't know if you know that I do this like a lot. A lot of your type gets misdiagnosed, and a lot of them come out as introverted or as feelers in that space. A lot of them do, and then sometimes like, oh, I'm a judge or left brain. But a lot of times the ENTP, I do what's called brain typing, which uses a lot of the Myers-Briggs, but a lot of times the ENTPs, which I'd call you a 13 or an FCIR, is that they don't like people sometimes, or they're very selective on where they spend their time. If it's, you'll see how extroverted you actually are when it's something you are interested in.
And the right person.
Yes. And it's something that's worth your time. And you'll see if you were really a backbrain introvert, you wouldn't speak as quickly as you do. Even you're just a little bit more selective on who you let into your world. But if I jumped into your brain, even if you're shut off, verbally, if I jumped into your brain, it's going 1,000 miles an hour. And if I put a brain scan on the top of your head, you'd see all this heat would be happening in the front part of your brain. You enjoy, and this is what a lot of gamers are. Like most of, if not all of the top gamers are the 13. So there's 16 types. You're a 13. It's just something they really connect to. And they're very good at it. They're very hand-eye coordinated. They're the number one strategizers. They love to strategize, and they are just very drawn to technology. And it could be a very dangerous thing too within the type, especially with young kids, because their brains need to develop without the screen, but they're just naturally drawn to that. And then even social media is a whole other subject there, because they're the masters of one-upmanship. They're like the number one debaters. They every now and again they will love to play devil's advocate because it's fascinating and fun. And a lot of people will be like, Cade, why are you arguing? Or I'm married to a 13 too. And a lot of people will be like, why are you arguing? You're going, I'm just having a conversation,
I'm exploring the other idea.
I'm exploring. They like to do that. And I'm always surrounded, like my bestest of best friends are all 13. So front brained. See, with what I do, it kind of eliminates that extroverted thing, because I hate those tests, because it says like, do you like to be the center of attention?
But no,
most 13s don't.
No,
they
of course
don't.
not. Yeah.
Do you like to be in the center of a room? Do you get energy off of people and all? And it's like a lot of them are going to say no because they're too cool for that.
But the right person, I can have a conversation with and feel energized.
Yes. Even like with how you walk, you are more moving forward. Like your head is a little bit above your toes. Like you're very front brain and you're a just do it type of guy. Like let's do it and ask questions later for the most part, unless there's an upbringing of like, hey, let's filter that first, young Cade. Let's think about that a little bit, right? And I'm a front right brain individual too. I'm just the difference between you and I is most of the listeners right now are going to probably be your type because they're drawn to this world. Even when you hear you and I speak throughout this conversation, you're going to see you actually have your sentences formed before you even say them. And you're going to be more articulate with your words, where the empiricals like me are going to be more of a simpleton. I'm literally coming up with what I'm saying on the spot. Yeah. And it's going to be, it might take me a little bit more time to get there. But I because I was brought up with my parents, I actually speak a lot better than most fives. I would be an ESTP in Myers-Briggs, and with this, I'm an FEIR. So to break that down, you're front-brained. You like to get going with things, even if you're not talking to people, okay? And then you're conceptual, which you're big picture, possibilities, what could be abstract-minded.
Creepy.
Yeah, and then you're inanimate, which I'm the same. So conceptual I'm an empirical. Well, let me back up. I'm sorry. So people that are listening, it's like you're front-brained. Opposite that is back-brained. So back-brain would be considered introverted, or they expend their energy in different ways than what you and I do. We like to be on the go, right?
That's true.
So then, going back. So F, B, front, back. You are conceptual. I am empirical. So you're big picture. You see the forest. I see the trees. I see the detail of what is in the moment. I can pick up the nonverbal stuff where you're more, big picture.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's not to say that they're that's the other thing that I hate. Like, are you a daydreamer? Most men and women don't want to say that they're a mouth-breathing daydreamer.
I would say yes, though. I daydream a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and some of them are okay with saying that, but a lot of I always laugh at there are companies that have brought me in to type people because most of the time people are going to take these tests the way that they want to be perceived to get the job. Where a lot of times, so I'm kind of getting off a tangent. So front-brained, back-brained. Okay, then you're conceptual. I'm empirical. That's one of the differences. Then inanimate, which would be thinker in Myers-Briggs. So you're inanimate. I'm also inanimate. So you and I, even though we can be fun and all that kind of stuff, we don't have as much of a pulse with things. We look at things more logically.
Yeah, okay.
The way that things are, more with like a logical lens of black and white. The opposite of that would be inanimate. Inanimate, like their eyes are more receptive. They're more on the side of mercy, of emotion. And then the next one would be, so that would be thinking and feeling. So this one is inanimate. You and I are more inanimate especially when we go into a new setting. What's really funny is I'm always studying people or I love watching people in new settings. So like a 13 like you or my wife, when they go into a new setting, I can see how fast their brains are actually working. They're sizing everybody up with extreme quickness. Who's worth your time, right? And who do you want?
I like interrupt you. I like how you said selective. That's a nice way. People have described me as just being cold.
They can definitely be cold, right? And the thing is, though, you do have that, but then you also have a very loving and you're not very judgmental of people, right? And there's the other thing that's so fascinating is everybody has a different upbringing, and people should always be very slow to judge people because they have no idea what somebody has experienced, right? And that's one thing I do love about brain types is like if you saw you and then my wife, you're going to see you guys are the same brain type, very different personas. There's a lot of things that have happened to definitely change. It's 60% nature, meaning you are a 13 FCIR, and then 40% nature. 40. It's 60-40, yeah. So and especially especially with the 13s, which most of you that are listening right now are going to be a 13. The reason why with the 13 is that they really are sponges. They soak up so much, as they're growing up, and they're the top actors too. They can just be whatever they want, really. They're the multifaceted type. So yeah, it's just fun to watch how everybody processes it. Like when you understand somebody's wiring, you're able to kind of see them in a different light, to be slower to judge or why they do certain things, because it's really difficult where, for example, if it's fun to talk about 13s because I know the majority of your audience is going to be a 13. When they are children, they are labeled sometimes as the Ritalin kid, or we need to do X, Y, and Z. They struggle in the early years, where sometimes they're like, the parents will think like, my kid's stupid. And a lot of 13s can struggle in the elementary level because they're just not interested. They're just like, yeah, I don't care about these. Yeah, that's blue. And they need to be stimulated mentally. So they will challenge the teacher, or they will get in trouble, or they'll do X, Y, and Z. And so when I'm talking with parents that have a child that's a 13 that's getting in a lot of trouble, I really try to point out the positives. Like, do you see how your child just outfox an adult? And your kid is doing stuff that's kind of like a CEO. And I say, just wait until things become a little bit more challenging. You'll see your kid is not stupid. In fact, he or she is probably very far from that. Yeah. And so it's sad when a parent loads them up on drugs to get them to behave a certain way. And it's from the educational standpoint and brain typing, a lot of times in the schooling system, we're teaching a squirrel to become a swimmer and a dolphin to learn how to climb trees. And it's a little bit difficult for both, and they end up feeling dumb. And because they're supposed to follow this certain way of life of the educational system. And so I'm very, I don't know what the right word is, compassionate towards just people in general. And it's fun to help guide people that might be struggling to understand that they're a very beautiful person that's capable of so much. They just need to find what that right thing is,
I didn't know you knew so much about personality types. I didn't know that was something you were into. I knew you were into lots of other stuff we'll talk about.
Yeah. I love it. And so, yeah. And then the last one's right brain and left brain. So I'm right brain too. You can see how I've been all over the place.
Yeah. Some of the things you said were like almost creepily accurate. Like, okay. Oh yeah. Yes. I mean, I remember reading about INTPs, and I guess I was misdiagnosed, but it was still, what's the word? Accurate enough.
Yeah, it should be.
That I felt like, oh, there's other people like me. This is what it is. There's a word for what I've always felt like, it's just the wiring's different, I think everyone feels different and unique sometimes.
And you should. You can have the same type, but you are going to be a very unique individual. The people that are my type that I know can be it's a wide range. But
how does that play in? My biggest question is, what do you know about emotions? Because when I was a teenager, especially growing up Mormon or LDS, I spent a lot of times worrying, like they would talk about like charity and love, and I knew the words, but I'd be like, I don't know if I've ever felt that, or like gratitude. Like, I remember asking a bishop, how do I feel gratitude? And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, I'm supposed to feel grateful. How do I do it? And he was just like, well, you just do it. I'm like, well, I can't. I don't.
Yeah.
And I remember like my grandma died and I didn't feel it. And the only thing I felt was guilt about not feeling.
Yeah.
And that was like a really struggle for me for a long time.
Yeah. Well, this is quintessential. Hopefully I'm using that word right, of your type. And when you're talking to a youngster, my youngest daughter is a 13 as well. They will ask this over and over. Why? What? Why? And unfortunately, a lot of people aren't equipped or have not been taught how to answer the question like what you just asked. Why do I, or what? And telling you just feel it.
Doesn't work.
That does not work. And that's the thing that's unfortunate, I am an LDS dude and I'm a very open-minded guy, right? Like, and when I look at, if we're talking about religion, right? I'm from Huntington Beach, California. So I had a ton of Catholic friends, Christian, Jewish, or just not into it at all. And so it's not, if we're just talking about religion, there's a lot of people that don't know how to communicate certain things. Like there was just somebody that I know very well that doesn't know how to talk to their son that's 12 years old about sex. He doesn't know about it yet. And that's so weird to me and unfortunate. Like I knew what sex was when I was 7 and I was fascinated by it and I loved it. I loved the idea of it, right? And my parents were awesome to talk about anything with me where I never felt stupid. I was molested when I was 10 by a friend, and he was my same age. I had actually gone through puberty by that time, right? And it was
10?
At 10. Oh, dude, it was before I was 9, bro.
Damn.
Yeah.
You were hitting it early.
Yeah. I wasn't, I was just a young man with,
not hitting it.
I was, so I was doing my best.
Yeah.
But the point is I had a very good relationship with my parents where I could talk about anything. And I had friends from all walks of life. Like like you said, I'm kind of like I did sports, but I always hung out with the skaters and the punkers. And I was an LDS student. A lot of my friends were not LDS. And these guys and some gals would find refuge in my parents' house because they felt scared to talk to their own parents about whatever their issues were. And so I really am grateful for my parents in that aspect. So kind of going back into your situation is that a lot of your type is going to be more headstrong in a mind, in a logical space where you're trying to soak up information where you relate more towards logic, right? And so there's nothing wrong with that. That's one of your great intelligences that you have. And it's like some people, I've been asked this numerous times, what's the perfect type? And there is no such thing. Yeah. I mean, for me, and from a religious standpoint, I think Christ is the perfect type. It's like if I could learn sometimes to not be so extroverted and let other people have a chance. If I could go a little bit more into that animate world to be more merciful instead of so logical, that's the goal, to be both. But there are going to be things that you're going to lean more towards, right? And so it's unfortunate. I'm sure, and I can't even judge your bishop in that situation, but it's like he's doing his best and he may not have known how to, he has no idea. Do it, right? Yeah. And my dad did something, and I talked to him, and he meant no harm. Like sometimes I played football, and there was a lot of pressure there to be this great athlete, right? And if my dad had this one saying, like, well, if you do this, you might miss out on some blessings. And so if I did a particular sin on Monday or Tuesday, but I threw an interception on Friday, well, it's probably because I did X, Y, and Z on Tuesday. Yeah. And that's incorrect. That's not how
it works.
That's not how my Father in heaven, like now that I have kids, I'm going, dude, if my kids did something unbelievably stupid that was so whatever, I still love them just the same, and I'm actually there for them if they would like my help. So anyway, it's not uncommon for your type to have a struggle to feel like what a lot of times what the movies show us, which is just so fraudulent at some times.
That's
right?
another
it's like,
issue.
Marriage is supposed to be like this, or you're supposed to feel that. It's like it's not real, dude. And so kind of breaking that down is an awesome thing coming from a brain type standpoint to help better understand each other and ourselves.
If I would have known that information, if someone like you could have told me that in my 20s, I think I would have saved myself just all sorts of wrong turns. And
for sure. I mean, the same thing goes for me. We're all a work in progress, and it's like life is tough and it's beautiful. I mean, we've both been through some tough times, guaranteed. Even people listening to this right now, and you just gotta.
Nobody gets out alive.
No, dude, we're all gonna die.
Yeah, and nobody gets out with. I don't think even if you look at someone like I'd say you would be one of those people from the outside. People come in and look at you like tall, good looking, successful, music. Whatever, they might think there's no demons there, but the truth is everybody, like, bro, life takes everybody to whatever their subjective limit is. I think it just, no matter what it is, you're going to be taken to your limit. That's just the way it works.
Yeah, I think Joe Rogan said, like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but whether it was him or not, I loved that if we could all jump in each other's shoes for 5 minutes, it would change the world, right?
Definitely.
And it's like, I've said this to my wife, even though many dumb things that I do, I'm like, if you could just jump into my head and my heart, you'd chill out.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to explain it better than that, right? It's just such a simple way to say it, but the same goes for everybody else. It just sucks how quick we judge, especially just seeing like what's happening with like politics, you know? I lean more towards the I'm an independent, and I lean more towards the conservative side, and I'm also a guy that has some liberal views.
Well, you're a rock and roller, and people would associate that with
yeah. And I have tons of friends that are unbelievably on the left, and they're great friends of mine. We don't agree on everything, and I would never consider them evil, and them calling me evil. But I see that left and right on
pun intended.
Yeah, exactly. Pun intended. I'm going, dude, what is happening right now? It's like when people are lashing out the way that they are, it's usually because we lack self-love, you know?
Probably.
And it's like you're trying to, you know, it's that the misery loves company where it's like, dude, let's chill out, man.
I think community is a big deal, which can loops back into, I think, I know I've experienced leaving the church. It's like, okay, but I am missing out on like the community aspects. And I had to go and like find supplements for that and get all the benefits and leave the things. It just didn't work. Like you said, it just didn't work.
Yeah.
It just wasn't working.
Dude, I have the biggest heart. Because it's like when I was a kid, I'm in Southern California, so I went to a lot of Catholic things, right? I went to a lot of Christian things, and communities are really awesome. And all of those faiths, all of the people were all trying to do their best in the best way that they thought. And we never know each other's story. It's like people that have left whatever church or whatever it is, it's like it's still kind of a part of us because we try to take the good as well.
Yes.
Like even when I look at you, I go, oh, that guy's still a disciple of Christ in my mind. I know if I was struggling, he would come right away and
Can you
help
go talk
me.
to my parents?
Yeah, I would love to talk to your parents. And I'd say, hey, your son's great. He's going on a different path that you may not have wanted, but that's none of your business. I mean, you can only do the best that you can do. Just let's focus on your own lawn, and it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
I don't see you doing anything nasty.
No. Well, for the most part.
We're all working.
I've had some low moments, but
Me too.
I think that, you were talking about the left and the right. Part of what I see going on is the self-love and the wanting to feel like a part of something. And so wherever you're biased, like when you lean a certain way, you believe a certain thing. Like I don't think, like I say, I'm a really hardcore left-wing person, and I have the view that you are a racist, Trump asshole, whatever, conspiracy.
Yeah.
Most of those people I don't think are mean-spirited. They're just like, they've identified with this group and they have a sense of community. Like I'm into politics.
For sure.
This is what I'm into. This is what I read about. These are the people I talk to. This is my thing. The same way I'm into jujitsu, they're into politics, and they that's where they get this community from. And so the other side, it's like you got to watch out for it. I mean, what I'm trying to say is the same way I feel about my parents. My parents look at me and think I'm a failure, but I don't actually hold them accountable. I'm like, if I was, like you said, if I know how their brain thinks because I used to have that same perspective. I'm like, oh, I get it. I would think I'm a failure too if I was in that spot. And I think if the people in politics could understand, if you actually really thought the election was completely frauded and that our country was on the verge of being destroyed and taken over by China, right? So you're bought into like a far right conspiracy theory. The right thing would be to go storm the Capitol.
Right.
That would be. Now, people argue whether that's true or not, but those people in their mind, they're doing the right thing. And you have to understand, like, you may think that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I wish they wouldn't have done that. A lot of people think that, but the weird thing that we've done is we take it a step further and there's no understanding. And you guys are dumb because you're all a bunch of dumb idiots and you're racists. Instead of being like, oh, you got tricked or maybe you got convinced that there was a problem that wasn't there, but it's actually admirable, because if there really was a problem, like the country, you need someone willing to go do the crazy thing and protect. Right. So it's like, even when I think about my dad, like I talk to my siblings, it's like, dad's loyalty and unwillingness to change like anything, like this is what he believes, is actually, that's something you want. Like I think that's a very manly trait, like someone who's unwavering and they're like, they have backbone, they have character. The only thing we disagree on is you guys just think he's aligned himself with something that's not great. But the fact that when he aligns with something, he doesn't break, he doesn't, what's the word? That's just a C. He doesn't compromise.
Okay.
He doesn't compromise his character.
Yeah.
You just don't agree with what he defines as character.
Yep.
But the fact that he doesn't compromise his character is actually a really admirable trait. I want to be more like that. That part of my dad, I'm like, yes, I want more of that. And people can't look to the right or the left and see like the pros and the cons and separate. They just look over there and go, like, you're dumb. You're a socialist snowflake and you want China to take everything, or you're a Trump. Like, just the extremes. And I get that social media and the financial incentive for social media platforms is to promote contention.
100%.
So that's also a big problem.
Long. And that's I agree with you 100%. And this kind of goes back to, like, I wish we had, in social media, it's impossible to truly connect. Like, social media has destroyed connection, which has created far more addiction,
Yes.
and seeking a thrill that never gets there. And yeah, I mean, these guys that own this, they love the misery. That it's not a coincidence that they have shot up financially. They love COVID. Let's not kid ourselves, right? They love that everybody is in this situation. They can paint the picture however they want, like they're trying to help. But I don't know. That's just me. And I can also say I haven't been in a board meeting either.
Me neither. But I can say I love COVID in a sense. It made me a lot of money because things went online. And so all these numbers went up.
Right.
And I'm just a regular guy. If I'm Amazon, I may not have caused COVID. It's not a conspiracy like that. But there's many people in the industry that I've talked to said, well, let's milk the cow while it's here.
Yeah, and they
yes.
The thing is, they have every right to do it however they want, and we have to. It's that line, like, teach people good principles and let them govern themselves. Right. The thing is, we're being if we could be slower to judge each other. And here's a great example. Somebody, this was maybe last week. We were talking about an individual that has really struggled with alcoholism. Like, he can get unbelievably drunk. He was in a war and he has killed people. Okay. And this individual said, when he was talking to the wife, he says to her, well, I mean, it was a good thing. I mean, he killed the bad guy. It's okay. Like, that's going to fix it. I then said to this individual, I said, one, you've never killed anybody yourself, even if you were fighting whatever foe, whatever it is. I think when you get into that space where you potentially you've killed somebody in the act of war, doing the right thing. You brought it up, like, these people, like the person that flew into the buildings, the 9/11, they view you and me as evil. He has been taught that what he is doing is good. It's good. And so I'm just curious, if we were born into the same family,
I would probably be right there.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's the thing. It's like when that guy, I'm like, you can't just, like, say, like, well, he did it, they were bad people. Like, according to who? Are you God? Do you know? You don't, right? If we knew everything, I guess, and from a spiritual sense, we would be translated. It's sometimes when people, I'm an LDS person. And so when somebody says, I know with every fiber of my being, right? I'm sure you've heard that.
That's a common phrase.
It's a common phrase. I sometimes am going, if that is fully true,
you wouldn't be here.
You're translated.
Yeah.
And it's, I do admire that they do have a testimony, and this is in different religions too, or even in, like, somebody that, like, when I was a quarterback, we are going to win this game. I guarantee it. Like, when Joe Namath said, I guarantee it. Did he 1,000% know that he was going to win?
No.
So that's, I guess my point is, we have to be slower to judge and seek understanding, and we have to ask questions. But the problem is, the reason why social media sucks so bad is nobody has the attention span or the care to connect with somebody. There's so many false relationships. I mean, the pressure of social media. I mean, how many of us how many of us have a friend on social media that we want to block or not look at, but we're scared that they're gonna see that that we've done this, and it's just like, oh man, like right now, like I do music and film, and it's just like, it's hard for me, dude, to be having to use that. It's like, you have to use that to push your product, right? And the pressures of that's just the way of life. And this is where we have to truly check ourselves and look at our time management, because you are what you eat a lot, right? Or consume. And we just got to be careful.
You are what you mentally eat. I like
sure.
I like using that. I think Rogan actually also was the first person I heard use that analogy. Social media is like mental junk food.
For sure.
A conversation like this would be meat and potatoes.
It's Us Weekly, National Enquirer on steroids with a dose of a little bit of evil.
Maybe
and good too, right? I mean,
it's the Adderall in the energy drink.
This feels great. And then sleeping. So we went off on a tangent.
I got addicted to energy drinks whilst doing door to door. And that's how I also. So I met you first doing Halo. I was impressed with your whole family's, your brothers, the crew of brothers Halo skill. And then obviously I saw you, we talked about this last time we hung out. I saw you play that Rated Hero show in that warehouse, which was off the chain.
Yeah, that was
actually
so
one of the,
fun.
I started playing drums. I started playing drums in 8th grade. You're older than me. So how old were you when you played that show?
I was probably 22 or 23.
You were back from a mission?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought you guys stopped being a band because you went on a mission.
No, it was after. The band was like, I mean, I probably could have signed with anybody that I wanted to. That's a story for another.
Yeah. But I would have been 18 or 17. Yeah, I had already been playing drums, but I just remember that the Used had done their thing, but I also remember just knowing.
I was 21.
21?
Because it's before Danny went on his mission.
That's probably what I'm referring to.
I was 21, yeah.
I remember that the Used had happened, I think, around that time too, and someone had broke out. But I also remember those guys could make it. Like that show was just, I had been to a bunch of shows, I've been playing in bands, and I was starting to get an idea of what it might take to actually go somewhere. And I just remember thinking like, if all their shows are like that, that band's going to go somewhere, because that was chaos.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
We were in that. That's what was, it was kind of
like. You were in the running.
Yeah. I was in, long story short, I was out in Manhattan meeting with some big wigs, eating some expensive meals that weren't really that good. I'm like, I could get like 40 Taco Supremes with this.
Yeah.
And have, like Taco Supreme, you get to throw on sour cream, dude. It's great. But I felt like I was supposed to pull the plug, and my band was not happy with me, but it was just, I felt that feeling that it wasn't supposed to be. And anyway, so yeah, I appreciate that. That was a great show. Holy cow. I can't wait to start playing shows again once COVID's gone.
What changed? Now you're back. Now you're doing the music.
Well, I mean, we've kind of talked about spiritual things. I just got this very strong impression. My brother, Scott, I asked if I could have my brother come with me too. And I just got this feeling I was supposed to be done. And it was too obvious for me to challenge that feeling. I'm going to lean more towards it was from the spiritual side. It wasn't, because everything was going great, right? And my band was so thrown off. I was too, but it was too plain as day for me to challenge it, like I said. And I think that I was supposed to do other things. And I ended up going into door to door and investing and all this kind of stuff to, I think, create a financial situation to be able to call my own shots.
And not have to sell your soul all along the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I also think like I could have been protected from something, I don't know. I feel like I was starting to get a little, like when you're headed towards... Yeah, I was getting those. I wasn't fully there, but every now and again there would be like a glitch in the system where I'm like, I want that, and I'm going to get it.
It might have been some self-awareness too, or something letting you know you're not ready for this success.
No,
I've actually thought if I had my freedom and success I had now at 22, I would self-destruct.
Oh, I could be dead, and you could have been dead. Yeah. And it's like we are exactly where we're supposed to be. Even if we've failed a million times, I just find when somebody's failed so many times and they try to connect with the higher power, whatever that is, and they have a humble approach, I think you're meant to do some amazing things in life, especially now, because there's a lot of people that are struggling from all walks of life, and we just need connection and love and less judgment, dude. Jeez.
Do you get into any video game soundtracks? Do you follow music at all? Do you get inspired by any video game music or even movie music?
I love all music. The thing that's so funny is I genuinely love hard rock, but my number one listen to this day is Enya. It's so funny. Like everybody, like when on Spotify, all day long.
Yeah.
When Spotify gives you like who you listen to the most, Enya was like the top. It was Enya and then Hum. I don't know if you remember the band Hum. And
that sounds really familiar.
Yeah, she's out back counting stars. Stars. I covered that song. I got to show you that. It's a fun one. But yeah, Enya's my number one. That's my girl. She's beautiful. Her voice is life changing. But yeah, I love soundtrack type stuff too. I love to like if you look on my phone, there's like the study track, you know, if I'm studying real estate or the scriptures or whatever it is, there's kind of like, it makes it like everything epic. Like I love Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. Hans Zimmer's great, you know, and kind of like really just flying with stuff like that. It's very beautiful.
So was there a moment where you thought, okay, it's time to go back to music? Like whatever that feeling's gone.
I think, you know, I don't know how much you've talked about Door to Door in the past, but I was a vice president at Pinnacle, and
I didn't know you were that. I mean, I knew you were up there.
Yeah, it was pretty high up there. And then right as I was at a point where it's like, I'm really big time, then Todd Peterson bought all my guys. And it was crippling, dude. I felt so betrayed and by certain individuals, and it was very hard. There was a lot of tears and all that kind of stuff. And to be honest, I mean, that's a G-rated version of it. But my wife said to me during a very dark moment, you know, Todd Peterson is a wonderful man. Like, he actually warned me. He's the owner of Vivint, you know, pretty much a billionaire. I had numerous meetings with him, and he kind of told me what was going to happen. And I ended up choosing to not go to Vivint. And my wife said, Trey, I think Todd did you a favor.
You separated you. You have a chance to do something different. She says,
this is not what you were meant to do. And I loved so many aspects of the door-to-door world, the camaraderie, helping people become something or financially free. A lot of amazing talks and met amazing people, and we got to be in the highs and lows together. I mean, it's just a beautiful experience.
Yeah, all my best friends to this day, I met selling.
Yeah. And you get to see people like who you go to the trenches with, right? Because it's like, it can be a crippling job, right? Isn't it so wild? Like,
it's the one thing I've thought about going and doing again, just to be like, I came back and because it's one of the only things that crushed me.
Yeah.
I could go out and I could like I remember Puck one day was like, dude, I'll fly your life out. Just go sell 4. And I sold 4x2. And I could do that every once in a while. But then I would sit and speaking of Adderall, I would sometimes abuse, because sales guys would like, take an Adderall, that will help motivate you. And I would take an Adderall and I would be like sitting in the apartment miserable for 8 hours. But even though I was jacked up on Adderall, I couldn't get out the door. Something about selling just,
isn't it amazing?
Crushed me.
It will bring some people to their knees, right? Yes. Just like, and that's happened to me numerous times. And so when she said, hey, this is what you're meant to do, you were not meant to do. And I'm grateful that I made choices to learn. I read that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and the door-to-door world made sense. I wanted to get out as fast as I could by busting my butt and buying real estate to create financial freedom, you know, get some cash flow and all that kind of stuff. And it's not rocket science. I mean, I got like in the teens on my ACT and I sucked in school, but I love knowledge and gaining it, and things made sense. And so when that happened, it was kind of like, I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. And that's going to be acting and film. And I'm always going to be a business guy and do investments and invest, and that's great. And I'm going to focus on doing the entertainment world. And it's not so much about the money for me. It's about, I would love to just connect with people and you know, kind of, and talk about the stuff we're talking about right now. Like, this is my dream, what we're doing right now. And just talking to all walks of life and just say, hey, we're all trying our best, man. Let's work together. This life is good and it's hard. I believe in a loving Heavenly Father, and if you believe in whatever you do, I love you just the same. And this is wonderful. And bring light and do cool content that's inspiring. Because like sometimes I listen to music nowadays, I'm like, what is going on? WAP?
Yeah.
Positions? I'm just like,
sometimes I'm like, am I just an old man out of touch, or is music actually getting worse?
It's getting worse, period. I mean, I'll put it on the record. It's just like, you're looking at some of these artists, and it's taking 9 to 10 people to write a song that's like, I mean, I don't have the greatest music in the world, but I'm going, this is what you came up with 10 professional minds?
And you guys put together 48 beats and picked 12, and this is what came out at the end of this whole process.
Yeah. And I think you could ask my wife right now and other people that are around me a lot. The youth are on my mind all the time. And I I get concerned sometimes because music and film are such powerful tools. And again, I'm not on any pedestal. I'm so imperfect in so many different ways. And I find myself getting affected by certain things that I see and I hear. If you don't think that a song or a film can alter your mood, you're crazy.
Crazy.
You're crazy.
Yep.
And so it's like, look, I get talking about the grind, but it's like when I hear certain rap music, I'm going, this doesn't help a community. Okay. This song is not helping a young man or woman be great. There's rock tunes that are like that.
Not helping.
This is not helping. Like this is helping disconnection. Like we're celebrating depression and all this kind of stuff. And this is helping to cause suicides. This is real stuff, but nobody wants to talk about it, especially people at the top that are making money off of this. And so if I could help to slow that process down or shut it down, I'm all in. And if that means like to go along with your dad, I love that too. I'm trying to get there too. It's like if I'm standing alone and nobody else agrees with me, but my heart knows that this is what is right, it's to the death.
Yes.
Right. And that is a respectable thing to have. That's kind of where I am. And I can't judge people. I'm not saying I'm better. This is just where my heart and my mind is personally.
I'm trying to think. What is the phase one is to put out your content, right?
Yeah.
Get your content out. And then would it be like, okay, now as acting and music, I've established it this far. I'm going to expand. And is the plan would be to just create as much content that you feel is a counterbalance to the content that is out there? So I guess what I'm trying to ask is, are you thinking of going beyond Trey Warner and doing, managing more content, other artists, other creatives? Yes. Yeah.
I am meant to help out all. And I think people are doing the same thing for me. It's a wonderful experience. And I'm so grateful for some of the people I've talked to. And again, a lot of the people that I'm thinking about, we have such different views politically, spiritually. There is some headbutting that goes on. But at the end of the day, we can agree to disagree, still give each other a hug and say, you're my man, you're my gal. You know, we are in this together. And it doesn't turn into you're evil or I'm evil or you're stupid. It's not like that. It's life. It's if life was one color, it'd be stupid. We need to have all kinds of colors of the rainbow, right? Because in the end, when we think about it, we all have shit our pants.
Yep.
Right? We all have cried for someone to help us. Mom, dad, whatever it is, we all had a moment where we were proud to show something to mom or whatever when we're children, but something along the way killed that. And we then hide. Then we don't want to be vulnerable. Then we don't want to. And it's really silly to think about, but it is so true. We have all crapped our pants.
Yeah.
You know, and even as an adult, I have. Have you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
I was just trying to think, when's the most recent? I definitely did it as a kid. I'm trying to think the most recent.
I did it on my mission. I'm like, oh, the Lord's going to bless me. And I went and we were like, here we go. And then I'm like, oh no. I'm like, oh, it's just a fart.
That's the famous last words.
No.
My dad did that one time. We were kids. He's like, kids, you want to hear the biggest fart ever? We were at a car dealership and he goes to rip it and his eyes go wide. It's like, I need to go to the bathroom. Yeah, we've all done it. He was a grown man. I mean, I was like 7 or 8.
Yeah, so life is good. And so I would just love to build something with my friends, dude. Just content that, you know, that's just fun and we're lifting each other up, we're crying together, we're high-fiving together, we're headbutting each other together. That's fun to me.
What would you make? Let's say Bill Gates came to you and said, here's $100 million in a video game studio. You're in charge of making a cool video game. What would you make?
Dude, you want to know? Somebody hit me up one time about COVID has been a bummer, dude. It's been for a lot of people. And I'm blessed to have made, you know, some profit in the situation. But unfortunately, a lot of people were not educated to do possibly what you've done or what I've done. So that does break my heart. I love Westerns, dude. Somebody hit me up and said, you're Arthur Morgan. I'm going,
from Red Dead.
I said, who's that? He's like, you're literally Arthur Morgan. And so I looked it up and I was just like, this guy is the raddest guy in the world. Please, God, let me play this guy, right?
Oh, they might make a Red Dead movie.
Yeah, I mean, maybe somebody that's listening, like I would love, like as far as brain types, there's not a lot of my type in Hollywood, but when they are, they do know how to put butts in seats.
Who would you say is the most successful brain type similar to yours that I would recognize?
As far as actors are concerned, John Wayne, Clint Eastwood, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, Burt Reynolds. Those are kind of the
Ryan
Johnny
Reynolds?
Cash. He's you.
He's me?
Yeah.
I would have thought he's more like you.
He speaks too quickly. He's
he's really witty. Fast.
Very, and I'm actually, the thing is, like, there are hybrids as well. Like, because I have ADHD, like at a high level, it kind of like puts me into the conceptual space. And also having an upbringing with how my parents are. They're both front left brains. So like that's the speech center of the brain. So it kind of, I was raised by a true animate feeler. My brother Scott is an animate feeler that's left brain that also has ADD. So it's just like the Warner group, they're all hybrids. It's really interesting, but they definitely are, kind of what their type is. But yeah.
Arthur, so you'd make a Western.
I would love to make a Western.
Yeah.
Dude, you want to know what my dream would be? Somebody called me up and said, we'd like you to play Indiana Jones. My oldest daughter's name is Indy. There you go.
Have you heard of a series called Uncharted?
Mm-mm.
It's like Western Family Indiana Jones for video games. Like
really?
It's like they didn't license Indiana Jones, but they just remixed the formula, made a new character called Nathan Drake, who I think maybe if you looked up Arthur Morgan, you could watch some cutscenes of Uncharted movies and watch Nathan Drake. I think you'd be like, he's dark hair, but that's maybe cool. I mean, I kind of thought you and Ryan Reynolds were closer because I've always
there are some similarities for sure. That's the thing. There's like everybody's persona is different. Like Ryan Reynolds, there are some similarities.
Because I view you as witty and like, I don't know. I don't know near as much about as the brain types. I'm just a little surprised that like, I thought he would have been,
Yeah, there's a lot of 13s that have a 5 persona, which is my type. They kind of go into the physical world, and there's a lot of 13s that go opposite of the physical part of the world. They're just mentally just like brainiacs, or they live more in their head space than their body space. So there is a film that I'm working on right now that has to do with like music, and it's going to go into dark spaces too. There's also going to be a ton of laughter, but it's essentially about finding self-love, and it's going to rock. And I'm writing that right now with Jeremy Warner. And so it's going to be...
I know that name.
He had the mustache. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And he's a very good friend, and that we're making sure that it's right. And I hope that one pans out, because I think that message will be very strong, and it will be it'll be connected to some of my own, because I was addicted to painkillers, and we'll be going into that space of addiction and trying to figure out stuff. And I've made very poor choices in my life. And those are just opportunities to learn, be humble.
How does one, I know nothing about the film world. I know a little bit about like how a musician might, especially out the internet, make it outside of the traditional gatekeepers and the record labels. But I don't know what the path looks like that for, I know you're working in Alien Country, which is a Kid Boston. We both know. I've known him. They're trying to do it outside of the traditional path. How, like this one you're writing with Jeremy Warner, like how does someone like you make that happen without basically, or is it the only way to do it to pitch it to a studio and a studio to fund it?
No, you don't need a studio. And Boston and Rennie are great examples of that. You can, if you got a great script, you don't need Hollywood nowadays. You don't need a record label nowadays, and you can stand to make more of a profit there. Now, if you're going to shoot it, you're going to have money, right? You'll have to risk that money. But if the film is great and you have grit and you've got relentless work ethic and you're not afraid to go talk to people, you will find a buyer. It's just most artists, and it's not just artists, most people just choose to not do that. It's kind of like door to door. You couldn't get yourself out, but it's really interesting. A buddy of mine that is an artist, Spencer, he couldn't get himself out the door to go out and sell for the first time. But luckily he went out, and then he sold 3, and he's so glad he got out that that door. But it's kind of like I was on the varsity. I was a quarterback. This is such bro talk, but not really. I'm not going to lie. I was scared to death with these. The body can change a lot from a freshman to a senior.
Yeah.
And so I'm
How
like,
big is this lineman
I'm
gonna be?
6'3", like not even 160 pounds. And I'm a quarterback.
You're not 160? You look thicker.
Well, this is a
Oh,
freshman
okay.
in high school.
Okay.
And I'm on the varsity team, and everybody just wants to kill
The quarterback.
the quarterback, especially the freshman that's on varsity, and even my sophomore. It's just like I would be a liar if I didn't tell you I was scared, getting hit. My dad just said, like, go find the biggest dude and get hit.
Get it over with.
Get it over with. And,
Yeah.
and it's the same thing in life. Like, go get hit. All we have to do is get up as many times as we fall. And if we're not falling, dude, that's quite the boring life.
I used to tell kids when I taught snowboarding, they would, hey, I went down the whole hill without falling. I'd be like, that's good, but you didn't try hard enough. You're not getting better if you're not falling.
Yeah. Especially if they're getting started. I mean, at some point, you could be that good where you're doing amazing, you don't fall. But if you're going out the gates, it's like, dude, we're supposed to fall a lot. And for some reason, we've been taught, don't look stupid. Go look stupid, please. You'll find life is so much better.
Have you ever tried stand-up?
I've never done stand-up before.
Because that seems like one of the ultimate fears. Like, go up and bomb. Like, you want to just go through a horrible experience and get hit. I thought of doing it just like, I'm going to go up. I've never done it. I'm going to bomb just to have that humbling, like, uncomfortable. Just go do it.
It's not that bad. I mean, when you remove the emotion out of it, which is not easy, I get it. It's like, if you talk, you're like, I'm going to go up on a stage. I'm going to say stuff that I think is funny, and that's enough. If it doesn't land, then that's okay.
Do you have moments where, like, you've put a song out or you've put a video out? Because you do a lot of music videos, right? And you're usually starring in them. They're comedic. I have this sometimes when I'll put a video up or a podcast out and I'll be really confident. And then I'll get in a temporary headspace where I worry about, like, man, I sounded really dumb, or I looked dumb, or that. Why did I put that video out? I thought it was funny at the time, but that's actually really stupid.
Yeah.
How often does that happen? And how do you have any systems or methods to minimize how long you stay in those headspaces?
Yeah, I can't tell you that I have aced that. I've come a long way in that space. Like, my music, putting it out, like I'm submitting it and I'm rejected. I think 98%, 99% of the time. And some of the things that people write back, it's like, wow. That was...
What's the worst thing you've heard?
No. Oh, bro, I've heard. Well, if you go, like, look at if you go to True Earth, which is a great commercial, it's only been out for a few days. I think it's got like 5.5 million views. People say wonderful things, and then they say awful things. I'm like the offspring of Will Ferrell and some other ugly guy, according to the world, right? And then sometimes I'm also told I look like a supermodel. And so there was one, I don't know if you ever saw that Homie commercial, but the owner called me up and he said, Trey, you got to see these comments. I mean, people are loving you. I'm going, rad. I pull it up.
You see different comments.
The first comment I see, do you want to know what it said?
Yes, I do.
It said, if Ron Perlman and Will Ferrell could have a retarded baby boy, this is it. Ron Perlman and Will Ferrell. Ron Perlman, everybody pull your phones out. I'm not them. I'm the retarded. And the thing offspring of this is it. And so I had developed far more. That might have bothered me, I don't know, 10 years ago. That would have been hard. I'm going, well, if this guy did this, then I'm going to be coined as the retarded offspring of Ron Perlman. Nobody's going to want. It's like, I honestly, I laughed so hard and I wrote back, I said, thank you. This was the best thing I've seen in a long time. And I said, you just really leaned into that. And I kind of like respected the fact that there was no political correctness. And I think we've gotten so sensitive with things. I know he's not saying retard in a way that some might think. It's
yes.
Like, and I do think people need to be very careful with certain words. It's just sometimes I think people take things like that True Earth. Look at it. It's TRU Earth. Just type that in Facebook. You'll see it. the line that I start off with is "Hello, ladies," and it has
Someone
to do
got
with
mad at
detergent.
that?
Numerous.
Wow.
But they didn't even watch the whole video saying that laundry is not just for women, like it's for men, and it kind of makes fun of that, and which I love the message. And I'm going, did you even take the time to watch?
We're on the same side. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
I'm with you. And it's like, really, are we to that place where we say, if I say hello, ladies, or what if I said hello, gentlemen? Somebody else is going to say something. Wait, are you saying women can't do laundry now? Is men supposed to do everything? You know, it's like, oh my gosh, just you took the time to write that? Like, is that what you have with your time?
So you're kind of saying after you've dealt with all this, you just don't even worry about it anymore.
I can't.
Yeah,
I can't. And the thing is, again, it's like resentment is pretty much the beginning. Resentment and fear is the beginning of our demise. You know, and it's just not worth it. I don't know what situation they're in. I don't know what their motivation is. And you know, it's like, I look at for me, what has worked, there's a couple things that I personally do that work. 2 relationships matter most for me. My relationship with my Father in heaven and the one with myself. If I'm good there, I really don't need anything else.
Everything falls in place.
Because a lot of people, when I ask, what's the number one relationship? A lot of times, my wife. Mm-hmm. I hope that's not the case. You are more important than her. If you got to take care of yourself. It's the whole concept of putting oxygen on your face first
before you help your kid.
Before you're helping, because you're going to suffocate and die. Like, you got to take care of yourself. That's a really big deal. There was something I was going to say that I forgot it, but maybe it'll pop in there. It was really brilliant. I'll tell you what.
Sure it was. It'll come back. Yeah. The gods will give it back to you. So let's talk about some of your upcoming releases. I know we wanted to talk about that. And actually, I have a request, though, to bring it back to video games. You don't have to do this, but you talked about sitting in the tank, popping Mountain Dew.
Oh, yeah.
You should write a song about, like, maybe it's that or the most fun night you had gaming or something. It doesn't have to be blatant. But like,
I'm gonna
good
do
times,
that.
fast times.
I'm gonna do that.
Do that. Like, good.
I'm gonna shake on it. So we're shaking. Like,
shake it.
I'm gonna talk about.
I'll promote the shit out of it.
Yeah, I think that because it's like I'm writing some tunes, and it's like it's always nice to have a subject.
Yeah.
So if it is about gaming, it's kind of fun where you're able to. I love writing songs to where people can put it in their own whatever
context.
It is.
Yeah.
And then it's always I always loved like when you're listening behind the scenes, you're like, what the song actually means. And
it's totally different than the way
it has nothing to do with what you thought it was, but you were able to kind of have it in your own way. I like to try and do that if I can, but I think that sounds fun.
Yeah, if you could capture the magic of, I think about, for me, I had a group of friends. My first friend that got an apartment. We were all like 18, and he and another friend got an apartment. Someone's mom co-signed, got them in an apartment. So it was the first place where like this group could go hang out with like our own place, and it turned into the Halo Den, constant. And it's less the games and more like that time of life, being young, the first time, like freedom, and just all your time was spent with the bros and just crazy times.
Yeah.
And like, see if you could tap into that energy. And for me, gaming would be, the Halo nights would be an example of that. It could also be, I don't know, even summer sales, like some of the crazy things we got up to outside of selling just to try to pass time, and wherever we were stationed. Like there's
go ahead.
There's some energy there.
There's a question I have for you. Have you ever thrown a controller and it's exploded?
I busted my TV 2 Christmases ago, having a rage quit over God of War. The TV that I had bought on Black Friday like 4 days earlier, and I shattered it.
I will never forget one of my friends. They were a bunch of brothers, and he took one of the console. What was it called?
What system was he playing? Do you know?
Could have been a Sega, dude. This was a while ago.
Oh, like a black Genesis controller?
It's I think it's the controller.
Yeah.
And his brother got up, and this is back in the day when if you hit the thing, it just stopped the game. His brother was super I'm trying to think of what game he was. It was like Alter Beast or something like that.
That's a classic Sega game.
I love that game,
yeah.
Dude. Love that game. I love Contra. That was great. I always had a dream of being the blonde out of Contra. Up, down, left, right, BA select start. But he hit it, and he took that controller and slung it like David, throwing it at Goliath.
Like a sling, yeah.
And it hit him on the head, and the thing exploded. He splits his head open, had to get the staples. I mean, it was a scene, man. games are life.
Did games did they get their game taken away? Mom come in and be like, oh, hell no.
No, it's just like, this is what the boys do, and this is what they do.
Yeah, there's some good rage quit. I had it. Yeah, that's the only rage quit I had, is breaking my TV like a couple of days after I had. I never hit anyone over the head. That's pretty next level.
That was next level. I was like, you could have done something else outside of that. But yeah. So you want to hear like some music?
Yeah, let's do some tunes. I'll definitely do one in the intro, but whatever one's coming out next, like the soonest release.
We can do She'll Break. Let's do that one.
Let's do that one.
Yeah. Here we go.
Spent the summer in the valley, in the closed down shops. I called the cops and listened just to hear it ring. Yeah, she'd be painting out her feelings. The more I see, the more it kills me. I swear I could fix it, but since when could I fix anything? When it all runs down, we're still here. Is that so bad anyway? She'll break any day, just to convince herself she's not something else. She'll say anything, always convince herself. Pictures of empty shells.
All right, first off, I'm pretty sure that's the song that I initially told you last time. The opening riff sounds like Silverstein pickups to me. Obviously, or what's her name?
Silver Spoon?
Silverstein. It's Silver Sun. Silver.
We were both on. Yeah, Silverstein.
There's a band, Silverstein.
Like Silver Spoon.
And then, Silver Sun pickups. They have the girl singer.
There's
Obviously,
a band called Spoon, too, so I guess we're trying our best.
There's Silverstein fans out there, you assholes.
Yeah.
They're nothing like Silver Sun pickups.
It's like Black Sabbath Sun pickups.
Yeah, it reminded me of Silver Sun pickups, and I'm not super familiar with them. They have one radio single that's their biggest song. That opening riff, the way the guitar, like the riff just reminded me of Silver Sun pickups. Obviously, your vocals. So that was my first impression. We were talking about like, okay, you like music because people put their own context in it, and then you can find out behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I had my hearing's kind of bad, so I didn't follow all the. I could understand the chorus perfectly.
Yeah.
The verse, I had a hard time catching all the words, but the gist that I got was made a bunch of mistakes, and the wife, I'm assuming, or girlfriend, is on the verge of breaking. Like, I'm done with this unless you solve it or fix the problem or change or something. Like, you've pushed her to the breaking point, or you're worried, I've messed up so bad and she's gonna leave me or she's gonna break.
So you're wrong. if you could, I know you have bad hearing, so
it was like I heard fix, like the word fix and mistake.
She tries to convince herself, or like I am trying to help. It's pretty much the journey of a girl that is chasing fame, and it's not really getting there, but then she's spending so much time on social media comparing herself to empty shells.
Samsonite. I was way off.
Yeah. I mean, but you were right that she's close to breaking,
Well, that part I can understand.
Yeah, so that She'll Break.
That reminds me of, a song, you also remind me of Jimmy World. I did not.
Great compliment.
Great compliment. I'm also one of my favorite bands. And the song, it just takes some time.
In the middle.
Yeah.
So.
I wasn't really into lyrics. I never thought really, I know the words, just my mind, I don't pay attention to lyrics. That's also a problem I have with I'm not a lyric guy.
I'm the same dude. I'm more music and
I had to listen to the lyrics because we're going to talk about what it's about. Right. Otherwise, I wouldn't even paid attention.
Right.
But when I found out that song was about a girl who wrote him a letter I guess the lore that I read on the internet was it was like he wrote the song to a fan who wrote a letter that was saying like, I don't fit in and I'm having troubles and I'm sad. And he's basically saying like, all this doesn't matter. And it's like his advice to a fan.
Yeah,
and then when I re-listened to it, knowing what it was about, the lyrics, I got really emotional because I imagined this is what I would say to my own daughter if she came to me with these same questions. And then the song, so it was one of those moments where I thought I see why people care about lyrics, because the emotional resonance I had out of the song once I knew what it was about.
Sorry, go ahead.
That was, so maybe it was a good lesson. Like I need to pay attention to the lyrics more.
I think on this next one, someday, I'm going to give you the lyrics and then I'll let you kind of decide on what this is, because I think it's kind of, so here's Someday.
I spent a year inside. I didn't fit with the others. And after losing my skin, I learned to stand with my brothers. I spent a minute on Mars. I got kicked to the ego. And all the things I had won were nothing more than a cheap thrill. Someday I'll be gone. Someday you will follow. I know you'll be strong, and my love will never fall. Someday I'll be gone. Nothing but names living on. Will not give for long, 'cause love seems to stop the wrong. And now my body is brittle. My mind's starting to fade. If I could only go back, I swear I'd live every day. So take a few to the gym, take a swim in the narrow, turn your back to the world, find your light in the shadows. Someday I'll be gone. Someday you will follow. I know you'll be strong, and my love will never fall. Someday I'll be gone. Nothing but names living on. Will not give for long, 'cause love seems to stop the wrong.
So what'd you think there, Kate? Bud?
The doctor has made a diagnosis.
Okay, I'd like to hear that.
And there's two possibilities of what we could be dealing with here. One would be you are singing to one of your children advice like, you're going to die, and this is my, if I were to be, or like you're projecting when you die, this is what you're going to say to your kid, or someone is saying this to you.
Yeah.
One of those two.
Who would that be?
I don't know, because you had this, my daughter. Well, I didn't hear this in the song.
Yeah, there might be. So when I write, I'll have a bunch of just random.
Oh.
And then the actual song. The actual song, you probably couldn't hear me, but I will free write, and which gives me lyrics and ideas. And then I will formulate what's actually being.
Because I didn't hear this line, I'm face to face with my daughter in the song. But that I read it and I was like, oh, so I already thought you were singing to one of your kids.
Well, you're pretty dang, I mean, you're right. I can tell you exactly what it's my grandpa.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought maybe your dad, not your grandpa.
I mean, it's I should say it would be even my dad, it's my grandpa. It's inspired by my grandpa, who is one of my best friends in the whole wide world, and he passed away, and there was some like really amazing experiences, and with a guy that was so talented as he was and such a hard worker, that's kind of where it came from. But I like one of the lyrics. What is it that I really like a lot? I'm like looking to see it's like, take a few to the chin. Yeah. Find your light in the shadows. Like, turn your back to the world, meaning kind of going along with turn your back to the world means sometimes the world might do things just because the whole world is doing that doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. It's like, what is it for you? Like, go get your butt kicked, like take a few to the chin, like that's what you're supposed to do. Like, it's not how hard you can hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
That's a pretty good impression.
Yeah. So that's kind of what it's about. Someday I'll be gone, someday you will follow. I know you'll be strong, and like, my love will never fall. And yeah, that's it. I'm impressed.
I started writing lyrics. I don't sing, but for like what's the word? Just for skills, I'll arrange songs all in like terrible MIDI, like stock MIDI. No, I get no cool sounds. I'll just try to arrange, like follow. I want to make a perfect pop song, verse, chorus, bridge, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm gonna work on and then I'll even like write a melody line and write lyrics just as a songwriting. I can't sing worth shit, so I would never do it. But I do like the process, and I have written a song to that's probably why I was jumped to the conclusion you were talking to your daughter.
Well, that's kind of the same thing that I would pass along too.
Yeah, because I have a song similar where I think that was inspiration. Like, okay, if I was about to die, what would I tell my kid? That's a powerful. I mean, as I get older, anything to do with kids and parent relationship. If you want to make me cry, speaking, we were talking about earlier. I had never cried. I get better at being emotional the older I get. Yeah, kids have really helped. Yeah, kids have really helped that.
They are a gift, man. Yeah, you look at things differently, right? And that's pretty awesome.
And it's not immediate. Like I thought, like, oh, I'm gonna have a new kid. Everyone talks about and I have that same thing. Like, something wrong with me? Because I feel the same. Like I got a kid now, but I feel the same.
I call it larva stage. I'm not gonna lie. Larva stage, when they're just like it's hard for me. Like when close friends or my siblings, they have a newborn baby, like, Trey, you want to hold him? Like, nah.
When it can shoot a gun and play back with me.
Yeah. It's like, but they've known, like, when Uncle Trey's coming, like when they're old, I'm all in, but baby, like larva stage.
Not into it.
I just don't, I care. It's just, there's other things I'd rather be doing than holding a baby that's just pooping.
And you're not an evil
look, it's
person.
Smile. I'm like, no, it's farting.
I think especially newborns, my wife will be like, look at so-and-so's newborn, they're so cute. I'm like, I don't think they're cute for like the first 2 months, 3 months.
It's cool. I mean, I'm just not into it, but the next song.
Oh yeah, so the first one, She'll Break, comes out first.
Yeah, this is coming out. Well, I don't know when you're releasing this, but it's coming out tomorrow. Tonight.
Okay, I'm like a 2-week turnaround, so
that's
this will be out.
Yeah, this is exciting. You know, the one we just listened someday. I don't know when that's going to come out. So the EP, like nowadays, you got to release like, I think I'm going to do like one every week. You know, and yeah. So the next one is called "Rest of My Life," and I think you and I will both relate to this song.
Let's do it.
All right.
You got the lyrics ready?
Yeah, dude.
Okay.
Crossed out, self-doubt, looking up, passed down, to across your mind. Do I make you paint your best face? That's fine. Expectations with implications. What am I to you? I'm listening. I'm less than them. Condition me the rest of my life. The rest of my life. Condition me.
Okay, Dr. Call, what do you got?
This diagnosis is much more vague. Like I don't have any. So I got a little hint because I don't think you say him. You say I'm less than them.
Yep,
but on here you have
correct.
a parentheses him.
It's them. It's both. It's whatever you want it to be.
Well, I thought, was that a clue? Is he like, and then it says perdition me, which perdition, I think of like son of perdition. So it's like, send me to the dark place, suffering, wailing, and gnashing of teeth for the rest of my life. Perdition me. That's like, it makes me feel like you want to pay for something, like atone for something. But the verses are actually like, I think you nailed it in the sense of, I get ideas, but it's vague enough. Like, I don't really know what you're saying. Crossed out, self-doubt, looking up, passed down. Like, you're in like a negative headspace. Do I cross your mind? Do I make you feign your best face? So it's like, are you into me? Like, is this chick, is it a girl? Is she into you? Well, that's fine. Expectations with implications. What am I? Are you having a DTR with someone?
It's all of the above. It's not being enough for somebody that you love.
Okay.
And it could be a spouse, it could be a parent, it could be a friend. I mean, it's just you're just trying to figure yourself out. Like, will I ever be good enough? And it's like you're kind of giving into just, even though I don't support being perditioned, it's just kind of like was one of those spaces for me where I'm like, I was kind of feeling that a little bit. And just kind of just vomiting out like some pain right there where it's like trying to feel like I am enough. Even for, God sometimes where it's like, am I doing enough? And I feel like I'm sucking, which if we're trying, we're not, so that's kind of what it is more or less about, like just experiencing the feeling of like not ever feeling like you're enough. That battle, that is a very real thing. I think that we all have felt at some point in our life. Yes. Yeah, and if you haven't, then I hate you.
If you haven't, maybe you got blessed with some sort of default wiring that's superior.
Yep. We could do a couple more. I'll show. Here's let's do. Do you want like a rock one or do you want a chill one?
We'll do both. We'll do two more. One heavy, one chill.
Okay. Well, let's see. Do you want to do the rock one first or the slow one?
Yes. Do the rock one first.
All right.
And then we can chill out for the finale.
We'll do.
Well, actually, no, chill one. We gotta have a rock for the finale.
Okay, just you and me. How about that?
Let's do it.
That cinematic love. A vision played in my mind so many times. No patience yet.
Just You and Me by Trey Warner.
All right, so I mentioned this when we were listening to it. Might be my favorite so far of the new batch. It reminded me a little bit of Incubus, the I guess dissonant melody, and you sang like you were lower on the scale, or whatever. You weren't singing as high. I thought your voice sounded better. It might be because it's easier for me to hear. All right. I initially thought, love, I want that cinematic love. And I know you were like into film. I'm like, oh, is this him coming to terms with like he wants the part of the fame, like the attention, the recognition of being in cinema, because cinematic love. But then I'm like, no, played in my mind so many times, no patience. That could have fit. Like, I haven't made it yet. I want to make it more. But then you start talking about a person, calm, bask in your silence. Am I hazy now? Are you the one? So then I thought, like, are you looking for the Hollywood love? Trying to figure out, like, is this the girl? I'm not feeling like the media version. Where's all the candlelight, all the passion and the burning? Like, why am I not maybe you're asking, why am I not experiencing like the Hollywood version of love? Is that even real?
Mm-hmm.
Then it said, coming down from the Hollywood glamour and that makes sense. I don't understand December, like the end of the year. Ever since the day we met, the lights went out and you came and lit me up. So like you learned the Hollywood love isn't real and you got the real love?
I'm very impressed.
Pretty close?
You're about nailing it to perfection.
Woo! That's what I'm talking about. Well, I do have the lyrics in front of my face.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not like I've drawn out a perfect map. I mean, it's like the cinematic. I think we talked about it in this episode, which is a really long episode. If you're still with us,
congratulations.
Thank you. But
and we didn't even talk about video games. Whatever.
I know. Hey, but
the last few episodes I did.
Yeah. Video games are cool. But yeah, I was chasing cinematic love, and then I think when I met my wife at the time, I had a hard time like buckling down and being committed, because it's like I thought, wait, it's supposed to be like passion and the burning of loins.
Yeah.
Just like, and it's...
Where's the lightning strike?
Yeah. And so that's where, the candlelight, where is that? And that's Hollywood love. It's not, I mean, that can happen for sure, but it's not full time. And I think we get confused on that. And then we want to bail out because it's supposed to be better, but then it never gets there, I
had that same experience getting married.
Yeah. And so when it says like our love is just enough, it's not like a negative thing. It's like, it doesn't have to be this huge, crazy what we see on TV. And even if we go into pornography, it's not real, right?
Yeah.
It's not. I've never met any girl that dreamed of doing that when she was older, right?
Yeah.
And or even a guy,
Yeah.
And it's like that's what happened. And I don't know their story how that got there. I just don't ever hear a young girl going, I struggle with the fact,
a
young man,
because the same thing, I struggled with feelings. And I remember, look, I dated a girl in my 20s for years, really seriously. After my mission, she was ready to get married, and I thought I was supposed to have a lightning, and I thought you're supposed to get revelation too, which I don't know why I was still trying that. I had never once. I did like the whole LDS thing, like pray, all that. I don't know if it's because my ENTP or whatever. I never once had any sort of experiences, even like taking heavy amounts of LSD and DMT and doing crazy trips. I've never encountered what I would consider like an outside. Well, that's not true. One time. Anyway, but when I got married, I actually have a podcast episode about that, so I don't want to go down that. I already have an episode recorded.
Yeah.
But when I got married, well, actually, I had to fail. I had to basically be with someone who was a good fit, and we had a good relationship, and I was looking for the Hollywood version and the spiritual, like lightning strike and all that stuff. She eventually got sick of waiting and pieced out, and it was losing her. And then spending the next like 3 years being depressed and realizing like, oh, I was in love. I just didn't know. I thought I would feel different, but I already know this about myself. I don't really feel that much. Like now I know if I feel that way again with a girl, I actually love her. It's not what the movies do. Like I feel different.
Yeah,
and then when I met my wife, I was like, oh, I'm not going to do this mistake again.
Right.
Like I've been here before. I don't need all the lightning. I've already done this and then been depressed. I don't want to be depressed again. So let's just do this. Let's get married.
Yeah. So that would apply kind of to this. And revelation is a very interesting thing. Sometimes we think we're supposed to be visited by an angel. And I've kind of come to the conclusion for me personally, it's kind of like, I think that God loves us so much that he believes in us enough that he lets us make decisions, right? Yeah. And lets us fail. And part of those have been revelation to me, where angels a lot of times are a Cade call. Like they're walking amongst us, where sometimes we've received advice. Did they receive revelation in a certain way to speak to us? And so I'm very open to that, because I haven't had a visitation.
Yeah,
I've had incredible moments of that, and I can't say 1,000% that was a spiritual.
You had
that could have been
experience.
My own. Yeah, there's stuff that definitely I would lean more towards that for sure. But revelation is very different for everybody, and I couldn't tell you I know exactly how it works. Yeah, so. But I'm impressed. This next one, Zizek's Road. To just kind of break it down, I meant to write this song because I'm from Southern California, and we'd visit Utah. So when you're driving up the Highway 15, just a little bit outside Barstow, there's a road called Zizek's, ZZYZX Road. Yes. And I'm like, I'm going to write a song about Zizek's Road. And Spencer Peterson from Sago was here, and I asked him to kind of help me with some ideas with it. And he looked up Zizek's Road. And then he starts telling me the story of Zizek's Road, and it's fascinating.
How it got named such a weird.
Anybody that's still listening, look up Zizek's Road. It's crazy. So, well, now I'm like wanting to tell what it's about, but I'll let you
cue up
listen.
I planned it out. I'm fleeing the scene for Soda Springs. Gasoline don't fill me up. It's a fine day to get away. Shades down. Stole my dad's Gran Torino. Striking out. Swinging like the great Bambino. Pleased to meet you, friends and criminals. Runaways parading on Skid Row.
All right, so you gave me a hint that you guys looked up this road. My initial impression was it's just some sort of Bonnie and Clyde, were like two con men that were conning people, something to do with Soda Springs, and they ran away to Zizek's Road, or the road was named after whatever went down.
Yeah, you're about right. It's so this dude named David Springer. He was a total con man, and he decided to start a resort called Soda Springs, and he created a road, Zizek's Road, and he wanted to have it be at the bottom of the alphabet, like it was his road. And so at this resort, he said that there were healing waters, like these hot springs, which he actually heated them up. They weren't even real. And he was selling like pretty much like essentially snake oils, which is what I say in the song. And he was hiring people that got out of jail, like that couldn't find jobs. So it's like, it's
the Tiger
pretty much
King
a
guy.
Skid Row.
Yeah.
It's a Skid Row dude that's trying to find, an opportunity, and he sees that they're hiring at Soda Springs, so Zizek's Road. So he steals his dad's Gran Torino, and he's wanting to start a new life. So he feels at home because he's with a bunch of other convicts because nobody's hiring him. So that's
what ended up happening to the resort.
It's shut down. You could look it up. Look up Zizek's Road on Wikipedia, and it's you can see what it looks like, and you can see people were going there like.
So it was running. He did it for a while.
It was running, and then they realized it was all a fraud. And the thing that's interesting is some people like experience healing stuff, but it's kind of like the placebo effect, right? It's like your mind sometimes can
do it,
heal yourself. And so anyway, I'm like, I had no idea, man. Like I've like toyed with the idea of going out there to shoot like a music video of some sort, and that'd be fascinating. So check it out. Yeah, there's more to come. Yeah, I'm glad that you let me come on here and
we also want to plug, if people want to see any acting, what's out that they can easily find online, like your best work.
Yeah,
you'd recommend.
I mean, COVID there's like 4 films that'll probably come out at the same time. Right now, there's one that's out called The Christmas Project Reunion, but it's not Christmas anymore. That one, it's actually kind of fun. You can watch it. It's on Amazon Prime, and the character, it's more of a family friendly movie, but I really kind of play myself in like a fun way, and a lot of my music is on there. A lot of it is 80s. So if you go to like Spotify or Apple, whatever you listen to, the Meant For You EP it's got like a total 80s vibe to it, because it takes place in the 80s, and like Boz is in it. Brian Bosworth, he was that linebacker from Seattle, from the Seahawks, and Corbin Burnson, and a Baldwin's in it as well. But outside of that, The Nameless Days, that one's going to be a really fun action horror thriller movie. I kind of play a tough guy. And then Alien Country, that's going to be really fun.
How far along are they? Are they still shooting that, or is it shot?
We do need to shoot some once the snow goes away. We're going to pick up some derby shots with derby cars, and then there's another one, Villains, that we were in the middle of shooting, and Colin from Whose Line Is It Anyway? He's the older bald guy in it. He's in it with me, and he went back just to see his wife in Canada. And
he got stuck.
Yeah, and so they shut it down, and like we could have finished it, and he would have stayed. But so like it's been now, dude, I think it's almost been a year.
Well, it's almost February. COVID really, we were talking about COVID in February of last year. March is when all the stuff.
Yeah. And so that's when, so we're like 10 months, and it's going to be interesting. Like, people look different after 10 months, right?
That's true.
Like whether they gain weight, lost weight,
some more stress lines.
Their hair. Yeah. It's not fun. I feel really bad for a lot of people. And then, you can just look up Trey Warner. You might find some funny videos here and there, but yeah.
I'll put all the applicable links in the podcast description. Trey Warner official or Trey Warner on Instagram, Twitter?
Trey Warner official, yeah. I would love if you dig any of this. I am in the humble beginnings, and I'm excited. There's there are funny things, but really awesome and fun things in the works. And please share away, follow, subscribe, whatever it is. There's really funny YouTube videos too, music videos. You just go Trey Warner, press that subscribe.
Yeah, what's
button.
the one? The one where you're like a lazy dude eating Cheetos?
Oh, Meant for You.
Meant for You.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Yeah, that one I liked. I thought that was pretty funny.
Thanks, dude.
My favorite song, which I'll put in the intros. I don't know, the slower one that I said sounded like Incubus might be my new favorite, but Carry On, I just think that hook is so like, I heard it, I'm like, people like, I used to talk shit on simple hooks. When I first started playing music, I was way into prog and Tool, and everyone loved, I liked Weezer, but I was like, this is just like two chords. I mean, this is cool, but and now I understand it's actually it is harder to write simple.
It is very hard.
It's very hard.
I was asked by Warner Chappell, like this music company, to write The Strokes, that type of vibe. And I remember going, oh, this stuff is like so easy. It's hard.
It's hard.
What those guys play, when your electric guitar is clean, you're exposed. When you've got like a distorted guitar, and so I'm like, wow, I am. So I kind of studied their stuff, and it was a really good experience for me to do that. But Carry On was very interesting. I wrote that with Spencer Peterson of Sego. And what's interesting is Carry On, the one you like, and Just You and Me, we were both working on different songs together. Like for me, I love collaborating with Spencer. I was sitting captain right here. He was playing the bass on one of, like, just laying down a scratch track, and he hit the bah, bah. And then I'm like, do that again. And then he did it. And what I remember is, and I think he actually agrees, I sang that chorus and the lyrics right then and there.
Yeah, sometimes it just hits.
We knew.
Yeah.
And then that with Just You and Me, he was sitting right here, writing captain, and I was playing the guitar. So that little, like, what is it? I played that, and then he looks at me, he's like, let's do that. Let's lay that down. So we stopped what we were doing, and we did it on both of those songs. And, Right With You, those are some of my favorite songs. And it's just crazy how they came out of nowhere. And it's just, that's why I love creating with people.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm coming up with stuff on my own.
Do you subscribe to the idea that is like you're tapping in, you're just a receiver? Like you get some people think creativity doesn't actually come from you. You just get right in the headspace. Even like some religions believe that creativity is the artist who came before you are we're
all thieves. Yes. Is that the question you're asking?
Well, I mean, no, like some people believe like you're communicating with other intelligences through like the muse, the flow state. You're like an antenna, and there's some sort of metaphysical consciousness substrate, whatever.
I would say I would be a liar if I didn't tell you I believe in that. I mean, it's interesting how many times have you been thinking about somebody and they call you?
Happens
all the time.
Yeah.
There's an energy. So it's like sometimes when you're watching the movie and like somebody dies and then somebody else feels it. Like,
yeah.
Right. I was just watching Vikings and Loki.
My wife loves that show.
Yeah. And like somebody, I'm not going to give, but Loki felt it on the other side of the world. I'm like, do I believe in UFOs? Absolutely.
I do. We can go, don't start me on aliens.
Yeah. I mean, how could we say that this is just it?
Can't.
There's no way.
You can't.
I mean, you look up in the sky. The thing I love when isn't it the best when you go in the middle of nowhere and you look up in the sky and there's no pollution and you can for me, I'm going, how could you not believe there's something bigger? I don't think that matter just bumped into each other and just created the intelligence of Cade, right? Or
I think we were made by the aliens and disclosures coming.
Isn't it going to be fascinating though on the other side, the journey? Like, I don't believe that's the end. Intelligence can't die.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just that there's something, I don't know everything. It's going to be very interesting. I'm going, this is like, I know we're at the end of the show, but like I was talking about this in church. Like I taught elders quorum forever. And I'm very open about how I don't know everything, but See, my ADD just kicked in. I looked at my Skittles and I forgot what I was even talking about.
Aliens disclose. Oh, I said
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. You just helped me. I think when the question, there's some, we can mess with our heads, who made us? Okay. Who made that?
Who made that?
Who made that? Well, then where is the begin? We can't comprehend it, but I think this is, and I could be way off. I think at the end of this, with whatever it is, when you're watching an infomercial and somebody invents something that is so simple, you go, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
I think that might be what it is.
What we feel when we understand.
Where it's
oh, it was there the whole time.
Goodness. Yeah. And then, if it is I believe it's a God, right? He's going to say, I tried. It was right there in front of you, man. You guys just went a little too far.
Maybe.
I don't know, or whatever it is. It's going to be fun for all of us to kind of go,
yeah.
And then we're going to give each other high fives. People that maybe we possibly hated, whatever. We're like, oh, I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry, sister. Hey, yeah, here we are.
I had a thought. I think that maybe
we're in an infomercial. We're watching an infomercial.
I had that there was actually a tool that my brother showed me where it's a painter's tool where it has a little spring on the back. All I did was usually a painter, and they hit staples in, they have to hold a hammer and a thing. They made a one-handed version where a little spring just pops it in. And they sold it to Husky for a bajillion dollars. Super simple thing. That was there the whole time. 100 years, people were hammering nails, these little finished nails with two hands. And it took 100 years for someone was like, hey, can you do this with one hand and I could free up the other hand? That would be real nice. Something that simple. And I've had that thought too. Have you ever done those puzzles where it's they have a loop and a chain and it's whatever, and some magician will make the chain come off the loop and you're like, that's impossible. There's no way. And you sit and you try to fiddle with it forever. You try all these complicated, maybe if I wrap it this way and go under and pull at the loop. And when they finally show you how the trick works, in my experience, it's always that same feeling how did I not see that? That's so simple. I spent all this time trying to think, okay, if I wrap it, coming with all these super complicated, or those number pattern puzzles where it's what's the next number in the sequence? And you're well, if maybe the pattern is +5 +6 times 2 minus by the prime, and it's really, you just add the first and third together. And it's always something really simple. I could see that because it's happened to me a lot in my life.
It's fascinating. So we'll see.
We'll see. I subscribe to maybe we invent through technology an omniscient being that perceives time all at once. And once we invent that, then it's always existed.
It's Quantum Leap. I love that show.
It's always been there. We are the God. We created God. We created the God that created us. And it's just a circle.
I mean, I couldn't tell you if I know.
I don't know either. But I thought it would make a great sci-fi movie. You know what would be, speaking of LDS Mormon, I think if you wanted to make cool sci-fi, you could mine LDS theology and make 100 sci-fi movies. That would be awesome.
You want to know what's interesting, whether you're LDS or the story of the 2000 Stripling Warriors.
That's a good one.
It's to me, I was talking about this with my brother, just the concept, you can kind of change a few things, but I kind of envision if so in the Book of Mormon, there's these 2000
savages,
warriors. They're in their teens, early 20s, and they're taking on they're outnumbered immensely. But it's saying that because they love their mother and their God, that when they went to war, they took on I'm gonna butcher it, but they were outnumbered either 5 to 1 or 4.
I always imagined it like the movie 300.
Yeah, it's they were able to receive X-Man gifts.
Yeah.
Their speed was high and their healing power, whatever it is. That would be you could turn that into
cool
some
movie.
type of story that would work. I mean, if you said, hey, this is a Book of Mormon story, I don't know if that would work in the masses, but the idea of that story, I would rather, if I ever made a film like that, somebody asked me that, would you ever make an LDS film?
A remix of
I'm
something.
No, I don't really love that idea. I would take a story. I'd rather have people go, where did that story come from? And then after the fact, say, hey, this was inspired by this. And then people can decide what they want after that. I don't want to shove down, religion down people. I like, for me personally, I like to be more of like a natural thing. And if it's something that works where somebody wants to know, I mean, I'm here. I'll always like right now, we probably have different ideas, right, in religion, but you and I just had a conversation and respecter of each other, right?
Yeah.
And I appreciate that about people, right? And so anyway, I hope that I can do that in a way that's it's just chill.
You know who did do you ever read a book series by chance from Orson Scott Card called Earth Homecoming? Earth to Home Homecoming? He basically, you wouldn't know unless you grew up LDS or were familiar with the Book of Mormon. He remixed the Book of Mormon story as a sci-fi, and it's like 6 books. The main character is called Nephiah. He has a brother named like Label. Like the names are just slightly switched.
That's and slightly,
And the idea is that Earth was ruined by like technology and pollution. And so humanity
I don't know.
We could be I don't know if we're headed.
Who knows?
The idea is humanity built a supercomputer called the Oversoul, which then they sent like a ship that was manned by AI full of like genetic samples, and they found a planet and they sent the ship there, and then the Oversoul created a new like family of humans, but they programmed it, they put like a brain neural interface in each human, and that somehow genetic engineering made sure that when they would procreate, they would have this connection to the Oversoul. And its job was to bring humanity back to a technological level so they could come back to Earth after Earth had 100,000 years to recover. And its job was to make sure that humans didn't destroy themselves. So it was like limiting their thoughts. Well, it was running out of juice, and so it's time to go back to Earth. So it forms a bond with this human called Nephiah, it chooses to basically take a new colony of people and go back to the Earth, because Earth has recovered from all the pollution, and it's like crossing the sea and going to the Americas. And it's 100%. If you didn't know the book, you would read it and be like, that's a cool sci-fi story.
Yeah.
But if you know, he did the same thing. It was nothing in the book would ever tell someone this is from the Book of Mormon.
Yeah.
But once you learn, like, oh, this is a remix.
Yeah, there's numerous cool stories of people like the Joseph Smith story is pretty rad if you're just looking at it logically. Gandhi's story is amazing. Mother Teresa, amazing. Joan of Arc, stuff that they're all kind of doing what's best and for their higher power, right? Like those are inspiring to me, right? And so I think there's many different ways to tell that story. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I got on that. We were talking about.
We're just talking. We can go forever, but I'm starving, and I
got to bounce too. Trey Warner official on all social platforms.
TreyWarner.com.
TreyWarner.com. Podcast description. EP comes out tonight, which will be probably 2 weeks ago by the time this comes out.
Yeah.
YouTube, acting, music, and he's gonna write a song about Halo Nights. And we shook on it. So
yeah, we did shake on it.
I will follow up and keep you guys updated on that. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Thanks for your time.